Good evening and welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting, the 10th of October 2022. Item 1, meeting opening, 1.1, attendance. Are there any apologies, Mr Benny?
Yes, Mayor, there is an apology from Councillor Sean O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mr Benny. Item 1.2, acknowledgement of traditional owners of the land. Council acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of this land, the Bunurong people, and pays our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, while also recognising their deep and continuing connections to climate, culture and country. We also pay our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their elders and acknowledge their journey. Before I continue, I'd just like to make a statement. Tonight is an important night for this council, one in which we will deliberate, discuss and decide on a preferred candidate for the position of the Chief Executive Officer of Greater Dandenong City Council. This is listed as item 7.2 in tonight's agenda. The information contained in item 7.2 is deemed to be confidential and it will be considered in camera, or in other words, considered in a session that is closed to the public under section 66(5) of the Local Government Act 2020. The decision on this item will remain confidential until a public statement is made later this week or early next week. After the item is considered, the meeting will reopen to the public for any urgent business. Thank you. We'll move on to the agenda. Item 1.3, offering of prayer, reflection or affirmation. As part of Council's commitment to recognising the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community, the prayer this evening will be offered by Chanandalian Kurukal from the Hindu community, a member of the Greater Dandenong Interfaith Network. Please stand.
Surya Godi Samaprabha Nirvignam Guru Me Deva Sarvakaryes Sarvadaha. Thank you for invited behalf of Hindu Society of Victoria, Current Downs. Thank you again. Bless you.
Thank you. Item 1.4, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. Meeting of Council held on the 26th of September 2022. Moved by Councillor Long, seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the motion carried. Item 1.5, disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures, Mr Benny?
None received, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Benny. Item 1.6, adoption of the Audit Risk Committee meeting minutes. The Audit and Risk Committee held a meeting on the 26th of August 2022 and minutes of this meeting as summarised in the following table are presented to Council for adoption. Moved by Councillor Garrard, seconded by Deputy Mayor Foster. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the motion carried. Item 2, Officers' Reports, Part 1, 2.1, Documents for Tabling, 2.1.1, Petitions and Joint Letters. Moved by Councillor Trung, second by Councillor Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the motion carried. Item 3, question time public. Mr Benny.
There are no public questions tonight, Mr Mayor, but there were 4 public questions taken on notice at the last meeting. All of those questions have now been finalised and completed, and the answers will be included in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr Benny. We'll move on to item 4, Officers' Reports, Part 2, 4.1, Policy and Strategy, 4.1.1, Anti-Poverty Strategy 2022 to 2025. Moved by Deputy Mayor Foster, second by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the motion carried. 4.2, Other, 4.2.1, Arts Advisory Board, New Committee Members Nominations 2022. Moved by Councillor Garrard, second by Councillor Formoso. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the motion carried. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just wish to congratulate the two new members, Emily Siddons and Leng T, both who have quite extensive experience in the arts sector. Emily Siddons, who has extensive work with Museums Victoria, the National Gallery Victoria, and then with ACME, and then Leng T as well, with the extensive experience in dealing with arts and non-for-profit groups, particularly the winner of the Young Australian Christian Writers Award and influence in the community there. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the new committee members come up with.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Move on to item 4.2.2, reports on matters discussed at councillor briefing sessions and pre-council meetings. Moved by Councillor Long, second by Councillor Formoso. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the motion carried. Item 4.2.3, list of registered correspondence to the Mayor and councillors. Moved by Councillor Trung, second by Councillor Formoso. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there is no opposition, I declare the motion carried. Item 5, notices of motion. There are none. Item 6, reports from councillors, delegated members and councillor questions. Councillor Trung.
Thank you, Mr. On Wednesday, I attended a meeting to interview the candidates for CEO, the candidate for City of Dandenong, with all the mayor, deputy mayor, and all councillors. On Friday, 30th of September, I attended International Pashtun Culture Days with the mayor and Councillor Richard Lim. Saturdays, I attended, official opening the Burden Park tennis facility, followed with the Redevelopment, with the Councillor Npac in here, representative of Minister of Community Sport, also Mayor Councillor Angela Long, Councillor Shona Raleigh. On Wednesday, 5th of October, I attend the citizenship ceremony with Mayor Councillor Richard Lim. Thursday, 6th of October, I attend the Wellsprings for Women fundraising with the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Angela Long, Councillor Ronda, Councillor Lana Formoso, Councillor Richard Lim, and you as well, and Deputy Mayor. Saturday, on 8th of October, I attended, a Road Reserve and the Sport Pavilion soccer, and also swimming pool and Npac. And with the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Angela Long, Councillor Shona Raleigh, Councillor Lana Formoso, Councillor Ronda Garat, Councillor Richard Lim, and Councillor Sophia Ten. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trung. Deputy Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. So my report for the fortnight, so on Saturday, October 1st, I attended the opening of the Marolinga Community Garden with yourself and Councillor Tan. It was fantastic to see the start-up of this, and just a long-awaited community garden. I think this committee have fought really hard to set this up, and just having a look at it and how it brings together local residents to grow their own produce. We know our backyards are getting smaller, so it's a great opportunity for residents to grow fresh produce, but it's also a great opportunity for members of our community to connect with one another. So it was a fantastic opening. Thursday, October 6th, I also attended the Wellsprings for Women fundraising dinner with guest speaker Rosie Batty. She's quite an inspiration and a woman of resilience and strength, and I think there was no dry eye in the Springwell Town Hall when she spoke. So it was an event not to miss, and I think it was well attended. And no doubt, Wellsprings for Women have such hospitality. They're very welcoming, and I might also add their own cultural cuisine was fantastic as well. Saturday, October 8th, we pretty much all of us but two attended the site visit with the Premier of Victoria to the Ross Reserve Pavilion and Npac gym. I can't wait for the gym to open. I will return to the gym. I have told myself I will, and I will stick to that promise once Npac is open. So please hold me accountable to that. But this was also followed by the opening of the cricket nets at Parkfield Reserve in the Yarraman ward, and I just would like to take the opportunity to thank the state government for their contribution of $100,000 to the cricket nets. They look amazing, and I'm sure that Parkfield Cricket Club will definitely benefit from the new nets, but also the relocation of the nets as well. And Sunday night, with yourself and Councillor Garrard, we attended the Victorian Hazara Community Vigil in commemoration of the young victims of the recent terror attack at the Kaj Higher Education Centre in Kabul in Afghanistan recently. As a community, we need to show our solidarity in the pursuit to stop the Hazara genocide in Afghanistan, and the numbers that were there showed great solidarity for this movement. So it was a very moving event, and it's an unfortunate thing that something like this brings this many people together, but there was a lot of passion in Harmony Square last night. So I have a few questions this evening, Mayor. My first one is in relation to the Calendar Road in Noble Park drainage works. I drove down Calendar Road just the other day and saw the massive drain pipes, the concrete drain pipes sitting there on the nature strip, but I also know that there are residents who have questions about the drainage works. I understand they're much needed because of the drainage issues there. But through you to the relevant officer, how much disruption will this cause the local residents, and when will the works aim to be completed?
Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Mayor. I can advise that, as you've outlined, Councillor, that the project involves the installation of some very large pipes, and they are to resolve an outstanding matter with drainage in the area. There will be very large trenches built within the roadway, and to undertake these works safely, there will need to be road closures in place during these works. Unfortunately, this means that there will be some impact on residents. The project team and contractor are aware of the disruptive nature of the project and are working to minimise the impacts where possible. Through traffic will face a short detour along neighbouring roads around the site, although properties within the limits of the works will obviously face a greater impact. These properties have been a large focus of pre-construction planning. One mitigation measure to be employed is the utilisation of a dedicated traffic controller to assist residents entering and exiting their own properties. For much of the time, residents will have relatively free vehicle access to their properties, although there may well be delays, requirements to access from a particular direction, etc. Any properties directly impacted will be managed individually with the traffic controller looking after their communication and requirements during these works. And I understand that those conversations have started to be had with the local residents. The project is scheduled to be completed by the end of March 2023, with the bulk of the traffic disruptions ending by late January, early February 2023, again depending on the weather. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Deputy Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr Kearsley. My next question is about the Ian Street Streetscape Revitalization. I know that a number of businesses have been impacted by the closure of Ian Street, and I was just wondering how this is progressing and when it is expected to be completed.
Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Mayor. Construction works are approximately 70% complete, and the project is expected to be completed late this month. The works have been programmed to maintain pedestrian access to all shops during normal trading hours, and whilst the road has been closed in 2 stages, Mons Parade End now complete and Heatherton Road End currently underway, to facilitate the construction of curb extensions and raised pedestrian platforms, limited parking has been maintained at all times. Signage has been installed promoting that the shops are still open along Ian Street. Information bulletins and face-to-face discussions have been occurring on a weekly basis with local traders to inform them of the likely impact that each stage of the works will have on the shopping strip. Council is currently engaging with the traders to determine potential placemaking projects that can be implemented in the shopping strip post the completion of construction. Funded via the Noble Park Revitalization Board, these projects are expected to further enhance the precinct and attract increased patronage, in addition to the streetscape improvement works. Unfortunately, works of this scale cannot easily be completed without some level of disruption. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Deputy Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor. And another question probably to Mr Kearsley, and also in relation to the Ian Street precinct. Notably the laneway that's parallel to Ian Street. There appears to be recurring concerns of dumped rubbish and even a stench in the laneway because of this dumped rubbish. It's obviously causing quite annoyance to the local businesses and residents in the area. What has been Council's response to address this, given that I have brought this matter up in previous meetings, and would they consider placing a mobile camera in this area, as has been done elsewhere in the community? Thank you.
Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor. And through you, Mayor, the dumped rubbish was actually collected on Friday, so we picked it up last week. And I've been advised that Mr Bosman's team in local laws have added this particular location to their regular patrols, so that hopefully we can get into a pattern of identifying any particular behaviours of dumping. However, I can advise that the new CCTV trailer is currently being commissioned down at the Operations Centre, and we're hoping to have it placed in the Ian Street laneway next week. So we hope that that would also be able to deter people from dumping rubbish.
Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Deputy Mayor Foster. Thank you. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to refer back to the anti-poverty strategy referred to earlier tonight. And I want to commend the Council for the approach they've taken to this particular strategy, which is a different approach to prior methods whereby the Council have taken a systemic approach and recognised that the system is disintegrated and that there is a need for high-level coordination and navigation and a role for Council in pulling the services together and making sure that people don't get lost through the cracks. So I commend the Council on their approach to the poverty. But just to draw your attention to the scale of the problem, I just want to read 4 statistics which will help us realise what we're facing in this municipality. Rental affordability has dropped from 80% 2 years ago to 9% this year. A dramatic drop in the availability of rental accommodation. Rental assistance is the highest rate in Victoria, with 20% of households, almost twice the metropolitan rate. Unemployment is 8.6%, the 4th highest rate in Melbourne. And in fact, youth unemployment is around 20%. And losses to gambling, to electronic gaming machines, stands at around $103 million, which is an indication of people trying to increase income too. So I just want to highlight those just to remind us of the enormous job the Council has in trying to address poverty in our community, and that the distance between haves and have-nots in our community is ever widening. Last night, Mayor, yourself and a councillor, a deputy mayor attended Harmony Square, where thousands of people gathered last night from the Hazara community and allies to the Hazara community. Vigils were held not only in Melbourne but in every capital city in Australia. There was a national standing or allegiance to support the Hazara community, and in fact a global movement is currently being undertaken to call on governments everywhere to recognise what is happening in Afghanistan to the Hazara community at this moment, the continual atrocities the community there is facing, and to assist in stopping the Hazara genocide. So it was a very moving night. The Mayor made an extraordinary speech and certainly showed that the Council were allies to the Hazara community and that we stand by them and in this time of need. Collectively, we also attended the Wellsprings fundraising event. Wellsprings is a local organisation that supports women born overseas in a number of areas in terms of literacy, gaining access to employment, and also those experiencing violence in intimate relationships. It's a very important organisation. They do a tremendous job, and it was great to see the local support they had at that event. Also, just to report on the Mayoral Task Force, the Mayoral Task Force, which is auspiced by the City of Greater Dandenong, has been very active, talking to politicians post-election, looking for timeframes for coming good on promises such as the elimination of TPVs and chevs, so that people in the City of Dandenong who have been waiting almost a decade, living in limbo with no supports, that their needs could be addressed very quickly. We've had pleasing feedback that the Labor government have injected an enormous amount of funds, or about to fix a very broken system. However, there may be years until the 800 to 900,000 individuals are processed. We are calling in the short term for work and study rights to redress some of the skill shortage in Dandenong, but also to improve the short-term quality of life for asylum seekers and refugees. Mr Mayor, my first question tonight is regarding the proposed Dandenong Wellbeing Centre. The average spend on municipal pools is between $40 to $60 million. The Dandenong pool was put out to tender at around $62 million. We are now told the cost is heading close to $100 million, roughly a 40% increase. Is this a justifiable increase and the best use of ratepayers' funds? And are we building yet another art gallery or a fit-for-purpose, energy-efficient municipal pool that we can both afford to build and afford to run?
Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mayor, I'll just go through some of the issues that you've raised in your question. I do want to clarify, however, that the Dandenong pool has not been put out to tender, so the reference to 62 million is a working figure, not based on a tender process. However, it is based on the aquatic strategy, which was finalised in 2019, and it included probably what I would describe as a fairly basic sketch plan, which identified floor area only. It did not identify costings on anything, including ESD, materials, finishes. It is probably what we would call the most basic of plans that we get priced, and it is very early on in the process. So that's where the reference to 62 million comes from. It also doesn't include an allocated sum of 20.7 million, which was discussed with Council in February of 2022 for works included at the Mills Reserve Precinct Plan. Some of those works included matters such as a car park, a public plaza and a sports pavilion, which Council at a later Npac, which is what we call the Council committee that considers these matters, to be included within the concept of the Wellbeing Centre. That added the price to $83.3 million. We then undertook what is naturally a process of you go through a concept design process, a schematic design process, and now we are in detailed design process. At the end of the schematic design process, back in February 2022, we advised Council again at an Npac committee meeting that the cost was approximately $94 million. That included the sports pavilion, it included the car park and the public plaza and site works to the precinct. So that increase was from 83.3 to 94.1. We're now currently in the detailed design process and we will be presenting the details of the, I suppose, what we call Cost Plan C, which is the that's the detailed design cost plan. We will be presenting that to Council at the next Npac in a couple of weeks. The brief that was approved in the aquatic strategy, which is based and assists in the cost plan, has not expanded or changed since the adoption of the aquatic strategy in 2019. What we hope to do at the next Council briefing, which will be the Npac in a fortnight, is to provide full financial modelling and budget impacts will be discussed so that councillors can identify how best to deal with the increasing costs related to such a facility. The current increasing costs are related to where the market is positioning itself with regards to construction material costs, and that's something that we can confirm with Council at that meeting. I will say that Council's final decision on tendering and the building of such a building will not take place until Council's budget sessions next year, and by then, of course, we're hoping to have received some additional state funding, as we asked for on the weekend with the Premier, and we will continue to ask for until the doors open to this facility if Council considers it appropriate to build at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor, and apologies, I did misspoke. By the time it goes out to tender, I think actually maybe more than 100 million. A second question, there are reports that some municipal swimming pools are having to restrict hours of operation due to high energy costs. The biggest cost is, of course, heating, and the biggest loss of heating is due to vast areas of glass and high ceilings. What is the percentage of glass in this building design? Why do we need 9-metre high ceilings? And what is the energy efficiency rating of this building?
Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor. I can advise that I'm not aware of any particular pools that are having to restrict hours, but I'd happy to be advised. All I can suggest maybe is that some of them are closing because they maybe are inefficient in terms of their energy usage and can't afford to be run. With regards to this building and what Council is trying to achieve is that we're aiming and will hope to achieve a 6-star Green Star rating, which is an international standard, that is a world standard of appropriate energy efficiency for the building. It also performs and has standards beyond Council policies and strategies. So we are very mindful of the ESD principles and the energy efficiency rating for this particular building. All of these issues, again, I will point to the coming Npac decision where matters related to the percentage of glass, the need for certain ceiling heights can be discussed with Council. I will say, though, at the meeting, it will be important to get a direction from Council, and we're more than happy to consider any variations to the design that would then lead to improvements in its sustainability, and we have the best consultants on board that we can seek further questions and answers. So our aim is to answer these questions at the Npac and answer any further questions during that session that we hope to have in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Mayor, it's been a couple of months since I asked this question, but the last time I asked it was meant to be a report on the implementation of the sustainability strategy by now. There currently seems to be a 2-month wait. There used to be a detailed and well-regarded annual reports on the sustainability strategy until 3 years ago when they stopped. When is the next sustainability strategy report coming to the Council for endorsement?
Mr Bosman.
Mr Mayor, thank you through yourself. Councillor, when this question, or one very similar to this, was raised at a council meeting on the 22nd of August, I advised that due to a number of factors, Council has unfortunately not been able to complete the annual sustainability reports over the last couple of years. In that response, I gave the assurance, as I do now, that Council officers remain committed to producing these reports moving forward. And the annual sustainability data is currently being collated as part of the Greater Dandenong Sustainability Strategy 5-year refresh, and this will be publicly available by the end of this calendar year. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Bosman. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify that the sustainability 5-year checkpoint will be available, or is that the sustainability strategy?
Mr Bosman.
The 5-year refresh, in other words, the update on all that data, will be available by the end of this calendar year.
Thank you, Mr Bosman. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. Just on going back to the anti-poverty strategy, just a question about why it didn't go out for the normal 28-day exhibition before coming to Council, and just more broadly, just looking at the co-design process and how the public will be involved in that.
Mr Forster.
Through you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Garrard, for your question. The anti-poverty strategy was intentionally developed through a person-centred, multi-stage and supported consultation process with people with lived experience of poverty. The strategy was developed in partnership with a consortium of non-government services agencies that support vulnerable members of the community. In addition to these agencies, over 120 community members and key stakeholders were involved in its development. With such focus, it was not placed on general exhibition for wider public comment.
Thank you, Mr Forster. Councillor Garrard. Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Councillor Long.
Thank you. These are some of the events that I've attended since my last formal meeting. On the 1st of October, I attended the official opening of the new tennis courts at Burton Park. The 6th of October, I attended the Wellsprings for Women fundraising dinner at Springwell City Hall. The 7th of October, I attended the opening ceremony of the statewide Koori netball and football carnival held at Springers in Keysborough. The 8th of October, I attended the tour of the Ross Reserve Sports Pavilion and soccer pitch. I also attended the Npac Redevelopment tour, then on to the official opening of the redevelopment of the cricket nets at Parkfield Reserve. I have got one question tonight. A resident rang me and said that she had not received the monthly magazine that we put out. When she rang council, she was told that it only went to households that the owners own, not rental properties. Is this true?
Ms Sprague.
Through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor Long, no, that's not true. It gets delivered by Australia Post and it should be delivered to every letterbox. So I can get an address from you. I'm happy to follow that up.
She actually come into the building and she picked up the last two that she had, and I advised her to put her name and address in so it can be sent to her and make sure she got the appropriate mail.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Councillor Formosa.
Thank you, Mayor. Have been attending some of the events that, with my fellow colleagues, which I won't elaborate on. Everybody has covered that quite well. I have a question for the relevant officer regarding some car parking issues that we're having around schools once again, and in particular Silverton Primary School, but I have had numerous complaints from residents, and just asking the question, do we have sufficient officers at this time? Do we have a shortage? Because there seems to be a lot of complaints that are coming in. So if the relevant officer could please respond, in particular driveways that are being blocked, so residents aren't being able to come in and out of their own property. So if the relevant officer could respond, please.
Mr. Bosman.
Mr. Mayor, thank you to yourself. Councillor, we certainly have a high priority. We place a high priority on schools at the drop-off and pick-up times. Do we have enough officers? At the moment, I'm busy working on a plan to expand the number of officers we've got. Obviously, that will help not only with surveilling or monitoring schools in those areas, but just more generally. I think that as the city grows and as the demands on all services grow, it's something that we would naturally undertake, those kinds of assessments. So when you say, do we have enough? Will we ever have enough? But the answer is, at the moment, I believe we can cover the schools where the highest amounts of pressure is, but we certainly are looking at expanding the size of the teams that are currently in operation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman. Councillor Formosa.
Thanks for that, Mr. Bosman. And another question I have for your department is about feral cats, and I have sent you an email regarding this, but there seems to be a huge amount of feral cats that residents are now not only noticing but finding very annoying. What are we exactly doing about this situation, particularly when they come out obviously late at night and we don't have officers working in the evening, apart from offering the cat traps for residents to catch the feral cats themselves? I remember, I feel like a broken record, having this conversation not so long ago where I caught 4 feral cats myself. Kind of felt like I was doing the work for council. What are we doing in terms of eradicating this issue? And as I mentioned previously, we've had over 1 million feral cats since the pandemic started, and I presume it's still growing. So could you give me a little bit of a rundown as to what we're doing in regards to that? Thanks, Mayor.
Mr. Bosman.
Mr. Mayor, thank you again for yourself. Councillor, we've developed you might well be aware, I'm not too sure if you were in the briefing session, a cat strategy. Now, feral cats are a particular problem, and the problem starts, in fact, well, the solution to the problem starts with dealing with the cats that are not feral, and how we get the registration of the cats, how we deal with those before they get to become feral cats. It's a rather detailed and complex strategy, and it's not one that's going to see an immediate reduction in the number of feral cats. And believe me, whether it's in the more interface areas like we are, where we have a lot of rural area around the municipality, or in the urban areas themselves, feral cats are a problem. But we've spent a couple of years working out the strategy. It's been well researched. The manager of regulatory services did the presentation, and what I think would probably be easier to convey to you rather than tonight is to set up a session between myself, the manager of regulatory services, and yourself, and talk you through the cat strategy and how we hope to achieve a point where hopefully we get some control. We'll never eradicate feral cats altogether, but where we'll bring some improvement to the situation of feral cats in the municipality. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Bosman. Councillor Formosa.
Thanks, Mr. Bosman. And I've also sent you an email about a resident in particular that's having some issues, so I hope that that can be sorted as quickly as possible. My last comment for this evening is that today is World Mental Health Day. So its theme this year is awareness, belonging and connection. So I'd really like to bring that to everyone's attention and make sure that everybody in our community is looking after their mental health. In particular, if they need any assistance, all the resources are available on our website, and if they can contact their local GP. As a PE and health teacher, I find this topic very important, and obviously post-pandemic there's a lot of issues regarding mental health. But that's all from me this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Formosa. Councillor Lim.
Thank you, Mayor. The last fortnight, I have been attending so many functions. The first one is on Tuesday, the 27th of September, I had a chance to meet body corporate just to discuss about cleanliness of Springwell Activity Center, especially around Buckingham Avenue. The whole point is one to educate all the business owners to tell their tenant to clean, to make sure it's their backyard or their loading zone, make sure it's very clean. Secondly, we try to teach them how to, look after their loading zone as well. And also they raise a lot of issue about congestion of each loading zone that cause a lot of problem in Springwell Activity Center. And we raise an issue to Mr. Jody Bosman. He's willing to take care of that. And hopefully the council can find those illegal parking behind the loading zone of some business owner. And thirdly, they request us to provide more disabled parking. I said I keep pointing at so many parking too, but we don't have many for sure, but I just point a few. But there's still some people not happy with. They still want to have more disabled car park for Springwell Activity Center. That one I said I have to talk to the department because I have no idea how to add more or how to reduce whatever. On Thursday the 29th, I attended Burden Park Bowling Club presentation of badge to a number of long services bowling club members. And also on that night, they gave me a bit of a chance to speak, unexpectedly, just mainly about the health and well-being of the senior. And one more thing, they would like to say thank you to our department, our council, especially the signage, the billboard that they wanted to install for over 2 years ago, prior to my election. And after that, again, let's get not long after, maybe after 2 years plus, they said, only 2 months, and they got the approval from the department. And thank you mainly for Mr. Jody Bosman, I think, probably your department that provide all these magnificent signage. They're very happy with that. And also, I also have a meeting on that day to have a chance to meet with Director of Monash Health, with Mayor Jim Amati come along as well, with Mr. Lee Talamas, MP, and also plus some business owner, and he's a member of the Monash Health as well. The whole point we want to discuss about how to raise more money for Monash children and Monash emergency department. That's the most important, and how we're going to organize some more function and raise awareness of that sort of thing. And thanks for Mayor to come along as well. And on that day, sort of business owner probably aware of that. And we sort of raised the last 2 months, our pharmacy raised for Monash children $5,668. Every 2 months, we ask the Monash director to come to collect the money. And also we mentioned to all the business owners as well to spread the word that we're going to organize some charity dinner for Monash Health and also for Monash children, and also flower ceremony next year. But the most important, we're going to have a gala dinner at Crown Palladium, Crown Casino. And they asked me to try to help Monash Health, probably at least 10 tables, at least. Therefore, I just would like to let all the councillor and director or mayor, whatever, if you kind enough to be part of gala dinner for Monash children would be wonderful, because it's just fantastic. Every year, very fantastic gala dinner. Try to save money now to go for that function. Excellent, honestly, excellent for me. I attend so many times. On Friday, the 30th of September, I attend International Pashtun Cultures Day. The first time they celebrate their cultures, dancing, music, and also dancing. I think that's a very fantastic one to be the mayor and Councillor Loy Trung. And on Monday, the 3rd of October, Mr. Kevin Van Boxtel, his team organized a place making revitalization. That's a great one. That's very informative and looking very good. But hopefully we have the sort of plan, going to apply for the future. On the Thursday, the 6th of, on Wednesday, the 5th of October, attend citizenship ceremony with Mayor and also with Councillor Lloyd Trung as well. On Thursday, the 6th of October, I have a meeting with Councillor Nikki Lu from City of Monash and also Mr. John Malahi, just candidate for Glen Waverley, just to discuss mainly about how to be partnership between our city and their city, because we are neighbor, and they are really interested in Springwell as well. We can share the idea, the experience, how to promote each other, and so on, so many things that we discussed on that day and sound very good. And the good part is Councillor Lu, she really want to be part of mental health, probably Jim aware of that, and she want to look after Springwell community as well. Doesn't matter what nationality, to be part of mental health, and she wouldn't mind to be part of my health seminar to provide to various community, and that's a good thing. And she always want to be part of my charity as well. For example, Monash Children charity, any charity that I organize, she want to be part of. Also with what we call Salvation, multicultural racial appeal that we just set up not long ago, last July, and also plus Cambodia Vision and so on as well. And on the same day, I attended Wellspring for Women with Mayor and with MP, with all other councillors as well. I just already mentioned about, everyone mentioned about that. And my pharmacy had a chance to donate $1,000 for the Wellspring for Women as well. On Saturday, the 8th October, everyone already mentioned, we have a tour with the Premier, and also Mayor, Councillor, Mr. Lee Martellus, Talamus, and I'm still confused by his name, sorry about that. And also with other councillors, we go from Ross Reserve, Sport Pavilion, and we end up with Npac, and finally at Parkfield Reserve Cricket grand opening as well. That's all for me. But this is not a question. Probably the same question. Only probably Jim had the same issue as me, because the last fortnight, so many people complain about homeless, about beggars, about sleep rough, about all sorts of things. I don't understand. Right? It doesn't matter how I explain to them, because I understand that it's not just our problem, the council, the police problem, the state problem, federal problem. They still never get to understand that. But I just want to ask the council officer that what is the best answer that I can provide to them, because even the committee member of Sabah, they still don't understand. They always thought that I'm the best person to fix the problem. I keep explaining to him already, one of the members. Yeah, he's a prominent member of Sabah. They still don't understand whatever I explain to them. We try our best, all sort. What is the best answer that I can say, very quick and easy. Thank you.
Mr. Forster.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. In regards to homelessness, I can just point to some information regarding Council's involvement in the Functional Zero, the Dandenong Zero Rough Sleeper project, which is a project of which the lead partner is Launch Housing. We provide officer support to facilitate the 4 primary meeting groups that take place under the auspice of that project. There's a service coordination group which meets once per week to discuss individual clients on the by name list, so by their name, individual clients. There's also a hotspots group that meets fortnightly with a lot of the service organisations like Launch Housing, Monash Health, Cornerstone, Salvation Army, CMY, Ways. There's also an improvement group which explores and looks at challenges to the project and explores solutions, and also the executive, which meets once per quarter. The official launch of the by name list is also looking to be launched in January or early February in 2023. So these are some of the things that we're doing in this space. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Forster. Councillor Lim.
Yep, thank you for that. I thought to be no more question, but just feel like all our residents or business owners never understand that. Sometimes took me 45 minutes to explain to them. They still don't understand that. It's very time consuming the last fortnight. Each one either half an hour or 45 minutes trying to explain to them. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Lim. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. The highlight of the past 2 weeks for me was actually a trip to Adelaide to attend Cup, which is the largest Serbian soccer tournament in Australia, held every year in a different city of Australia. And it was obviously held the first time after 2019 because of the coronavirus restrictions. We couldn't get together. Now, this is quite an important cup for Serbian community. There's some 20-odd teams, with about 20-odd clubs with about 35 teams, including women's teams, under 18s, over 18s. There's even over 35s participating, and this year was held in Adelaide. And what was important is that the competition for these tournaments is always quite stiff, and Melbourne being a host to nonetheless, there's 6 soccer clubs, and some on this side of town, some on the other side of town. I'm happy to report that next year, 2023, it'll be held down at the Serbian Sports Centre in Keysborough. So we'll be getting about 2,000 to 3,000 people visiting from all over Australia, families. This year in Adelaide was more than ever families coming, not just the players, but actually bringing the kids along with them. I think people were sort of, locked up for 2 years. So next year, October, the date is to be confirmed, we will be hosting within our municipality the great soccer tournament. So that was the highlight of my past 2 weeks. So thank you. And no questions for the officers. Thank you. Make it easy tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my first question this evening is just an update on the Rowley Allen Reserve. I suppose extension. I believe there was a meeting held during the week between the anchor clubs and council officers. From that, I've had basically correspondence from all of them I believe that there's been an allocation or a conversation about an allocation of approximately $200,000 for some temporary extensions for change rooms. The clubs obviously are somewhat excited, and I was actually caught off guard by it. If we could please get an update of exactly what is happening down at the reserve in terms of the pavilions, the allocation of, I suppose, funding at the moment, and then also to do with the shipping containers that I believe have had quite a substantial amount of water egress in, where the cricket club opened it up to pull their cricket gear out to find that it had substantially been damaged, and there has been a lot of donation since. If I could please get an update on all those matters, that would be great.
Mr Forster.
Through you, Mr Mayor, thank you, Councillor Dark, for your question. In regards to the specific funding apportionments of the different projects of Rowley Allen Reserve, I'll probably take that on notice and get back to you via email. And in regards to the shipping container, I'll defer to my esteemed colleague, Mr Paul Keasley.
Thank you. I can advise that we put in some ventilation into the containers, I think probably a couple of weeks ago now, from memory, to essentially fix the problem that is related to condensation occurring, I think, within their boxes of equipment. So we're hoping that with the introduction of those ventilation holes, that will, not happen ongoing into the future.
Thank you, Mr Keasley. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the directors for their response. My next question, I've had a phone call from a couple of parents from Chandler Park Primary School to do with the intersection of Cochrane Avenue and Chandler Road. During school hours, there's been quite a large amount of traffic banking up. There's been people basically parking all over the road, and it's quite a distance to get up to where the school crossing supervisors are as well. If we could please have a look and just see how the traffic is flowing and moving during those times. Apparently it's banking all the way up to Cheltenham Road, up Chandler Road, and therefore it's become quite a substantial bottleneck to deal with that.
Mr Keasley.
Yes, certainly. I'll get the traffic engineers out there to have a look at specifically, I think you said during school times? Yep.
Thank you, Mr Keasley. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my last question is from a couple from Mount Hira on Perry Road. They had a couple of questions. As you drive from Greens Road up Perry Road towards Bangham Road, on the left-hand side, the trees overgrown quite a substantial amount to the point where actually you don't see that the school zone 60 traffic light sign is actually there until basically you're right on top of it. The school asked whether it was possible to get that tree branch cut back and to allow line of sight to improve traffic. The second one is to do with the disintegration of Perry Road. There's been quite a bit of, I suppose, conversations and pictures that have been sent to me about a lot of cracking the disintegration of Perry Road. There's been a temporary patch that's put on that's actually higher than the road itself, and people are hitting it and actually getting to the point where they're deviating across the other side of the road. It definitely is, when I drove down the other day, falling apart, probably an understatement. I do know that we do have within the budget funding and plans to I suppose, duplicate the road and to expand it. But given the time frame between the two, if we could please look at what options we have about the substantial cracking and potholes, that would be great.
Mr. Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll certainly look at both of those issues. The issue with the road may well be that it is, as you point out, part of the capital works program for this financial year. I can get an update on the timing of that and then also get somebody out to have a look at whether or not we need to do any further patching to the particular road while we wait for the reconstruction.
Thank you, Mr. Kearsley. Councillor Dark. Thank you, Councillor Dark. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to report for the few events I attended to the last 2 weeks. So on the 1st of October, I attended the grand opening of the Marolinga Community Garden. So firstly, congratulations to the committees for their great works. Also thanks to the support of the Garden Well, Biofilter, the Bunnings, Keysborough Bunnings, Noble Park Keysborough Lions Club, Noble Park Dingley, Rotary, and also council staff and students from Noble Park Secondary College for their support as well. And also on the 8th of October, I also attended the Ross Reserve Pavilion and soccer pitch tour with the Victorian Premier, Daniel Andrews, MP, Mr. Lee Talamas, OAM MP, the Labor for the member of the South Eastern Metropolitan. And through you, Mayor, could we write a certificate of appreciation? I know that you know, with the state Victorian government partner with council, with a lot of projects, especially with the Noble Park Revitalization Board. So a lot of major projects been completed because of the assistance of the support funding because of the Victorian government. So could we please get a certificate in writing and send it to the Revitalization Board as well? For you, if you can do that, would be great. And I just want to congratulate all our staff, especially with the Directorate of the Business Engineering and the Majors projects for all your great work, especially with the soccer pitch and the Npac as well. So the Wellbeing Gymnasium, which is cost about 6.9 million, and we got 3.3 million from funding from the Victorian state government. So the project will be completed by the end of December, which is exciting. And also just follow up from the last question from the last council meeting, could you please make sure to put pricings on our Greater Dandenong website? It's anything to do with, you know, swimming pools, any gyms, anything that resident can access with pricings, because it's a bit hard for them to find anything on website at the moment. So through you, Mayor, can you please request instruction how to view any, you know, anything that's make it easy, more friendly to use on a website, easy for residents to find. That would be great.
Ms. Bragg.
So my question.
Is that a question? Okay, that was a comment then. Okay, thank you.
Just a comment. Yeah.
Councillor Tan.
So first question, this one just a following up questions in relation to a street light request. This is on the Marolinga Avenue in Keysborough. So a resident requested a street light, a street light around the avenue, and it's make it hard for residents to, especially at night time, it's really hard for them to drive through, in and out, or walk around about. So it's the request on number 1 and number 7 on Marolinga Avenue. Do you have any update on this yet?
Mr. Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor. Through you, Mayor. No, I don't. I'll have to take that on notice and get back to you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Kearsley. Councillor Tan.
Thank you. Second question, just regard to a Patong Court. I know we have completed the Patong Court at the Noble Park Community Centre, which is part of the CIP project that I requested, which is 80,000 already done. Recently, I got a few complaints from a resident. They also saw a few groups that they build their own court, which is at the Allen Corrigan Reserve. So could you, through you, Mayor, could the relevant officer please make a follow up or do investigations on this, because at the moment there's a few groups that are doing some illegal games and, you know, betting through those baton, which is illegal on the reserve. Please inform the resident to use the correct court, which is already built at the Noble Park Community Centre. Thanks.
Mr. Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll certainly investigate those other uses in those other parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kearsley. Councillor Tan.
Thank you. Third question, just regarding to a few faulty and broken traffic lights. So there's a few it's also happened today as well. This is on the it's on the light board, near opposite the Sandown Park stations. So and on the weekend was on the Kingsley Avenue in Keysborough. So what's the process with the broken or faulty traffic lights through you, Mayor? Could you please get the relevant officer to provide the process on this?
Mr. Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor. I think the second one you referred to was fixed over the weekend. There were a couple of minor issues with the equipment. So my understanding from information from the officers is that has been fixed. However, the first one you refer to, I'm not aware of that, so I'll have to take that on notice. With regards to traffic lights, it can come down to which road it is on, whether it's a Department of Transport road or whether it's one of ours. So I'll wait for further information from you on your first example, and then I'll follow up with the officers straight away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kearsley. Councillor Tan.
Thank you. I'll send it through to you. There's also a policeman there as well today, but they wouldn't know what to do. I don't know what's the process, but it's just a bit chaos with the resident crossing the road through from the station, so it's quite dangerous. I'll send it through to you. Thank you. And last question, just regarding to a complaints process. So we have a resident who's really concerned and not happy to do with staff issue. So anything to do with staff issue, to have a complaint process on our website. But for some reason, it's really hard for staff to search the information on our website, so how to submit a complaint. So through you, Mayor, could you please get the officer to provide some instructions, something that's easy, friendly to use, and easy for a resident to search on our website? It's just really hard to find anything on the website at the moment. Thanks.
Ms. Prague.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have a complaints policy, Councillor, that was adopted just a couple of months ago by Council. That's all detailed on our website, as is our complaints resolution process. But if anyone's having difficulty with that, I'd be happy to speak to them and assist them through that if that was suitable. Otherwise, if it's a complaint against staff, we do have a very specific process for that as well. So again, I'd be happy to speak to the resident and help them through that if needed.
Thank you, Ms. Prague. Councillor Tan.
Thank you. I'll send through some information to you, but just in future reference, so is anything that we can put on our website, just an easy process. So anything to do with a complaint, they can submit a report online, so it goes straight to our website. And then at the moment, it's really hard to find anything that's relevant, especially with a resident who's not really tech savvy. It's hard for them to find anything. So I'll send it through to you. Thank you. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Thank you, Councillor Formosa, for reminding us today is Mental Health Day. I'm actually an Australian Mental Health Ambassador, which I work very closely with the mental health, Australian mental health in Victoria, and they're nationally, so we've got members in all states, and as Councillor Lim mentioned, Councillor Liu will be joining that mental health ambassador, so we can work together, being neighbouring councillors. It's World Mental Health Day today. The theme for 2022 is Make Mental Health and Wellbeing for All a Global Priority, with the World Health Organization taking the day to reconnect and rekindle efforts to protect and improve mental health. It is important to do things that improve your mental health. So, make sure everybody's fine, everybody's well. and it's something that's important, and it's actually right throughout all communities. It doesn't matter, it doesn't discriminate whether what colour you are, what nationality you are, or what religion you do. So it's very important that you do things to make sure you stay healthy, and mental health is something that's touched by all of us. We know somebody that's struggling with it. Some of the places that I attended over the last fortnight, I attended the Bengali Association of Victoria Durga Puja Spring Festival. I also attended the International Pashtun Culture Day at Springwell Town Hall. I think there was about 1,000 people there. Pashtun culture at its best, music, fashion parades, the men's and female fashion parade. So it was really nice to be at the Pashtun Culture Day, and it was held in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne was the last one. So it was great to be there in attendance that evening. I also attended the grand opening of the Marolinga Community Garden. I think that's fantastic. We're now starting to get other groups coming to visit council and to seeking how they can actually open up their own community garden, which is fantastic. As the Deputy Mayor mentioned before, unfortunately the backyards are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and so these kind of facilities are really great. People can actually rent a patch out, but it's not about growing vegetables. I think it's more than that. As we just spoke about mental health, it's about getting people out of their own home, own unit, own flat, whatever it is, connecting with other people in the community, meeting up with other people, having a chat, having a laugh, talk about vegetables or talk about the weather. And I think these community gardens are something that's happening right across Victoria, Australia, and now they're happening in Greater Dandenong. So there's about 2 or 3 other groups that have come to see me, and I look forward to working with them. And I'd like to congratulate the Marolinga Committee on setting a very high example, and they're the benchmark that I think other groups I tell to go and have a chat to, and they'll help you set up one and actually give you good advice. So congratulations to the Marolinga community. Also, I attended the official opening of the Burton Park tennis facility following its redevelopment. 6 beautiful courts, brand new fencing, 350 lux lighting, the best courts I've seen in the city of Greater Dandenong, actually. And if you look at our max, you can see me having a big forehand hit on it. Not a bad player in my young days, but unfortunately not very good at the moment. Can still hit the ball, but can't chase it. So if it comes straight at me, I can hit it back. But if I have to move left or right, it becomes difficult. But with a bit of training and also the Npac new gym, Deputy Mayor, maybe if shedding a few kilos, maybe then I can chase the ball. But great facilities. So really, really happy for the Burton Park Tennis Club. They're a fantastic group, over 100 members. And I told them that their club is only going to grow because they've got first-class facilities. And that was also opened up that day with former Mayor and Councillor Npac, who's now the state member for Cleanliness. There was $1 million contributed from the state government to get those tennis courts up to first-class standards. Hopefully we get from Burton Park maybe a Kyrgios or another player of that calibre. And these first-class facilities do help to make sure that we do get great talent in our area. Also attended the GSEM meeting with my colleagues from KC Council and Cardinia. Thompson Road actually goes to a dead end. They're actually campaigning for that Thompson's Road to connect to Cooyurup Road, and that'll help businesses from Greater Dandenong when they need to use that arterial. So doing a bit of campaigning there for my neighbour colleagues. Also attended the citizenship ceremony, which is something very, very humbling and something that I really, really, really love doing. And with my colleague councillors, Richard Lim and Councillor Trung, I tell the story how us three are very similar to everybody in that room getting their certificate. I was a migrant. I came to Australia when I was 2, and I go on and on about that. And then I jump onto Councillor Lim, who arrived in Australia in 1980 as a refugee, and the same with Councillor Trung in 1983. And Councillor Trung always makes us laugh when he says to us, when He says when he first came to Australia, he seen the no standing sign near the bus stop. So what he was doing, walking around the bus stop, so he wasn't standing until waiting for the bus. So, you know, these kind of things are very challenging for our new migrants. And but yeah, he was doing the right thing. He wasn't standing there. So but these are some of the things that different to people who come from different countries and have to learn. To read these signs, as much as they sound ridiculous, but to somebody who's never seen one, he's not allowed to stand there. So. Also, councillors had the very pleasure of hosting the Wellsprings for Women fundraiser dinner at Springwell City Hall, which was a fantastic event. Wellsprings women do some fantastic work, and they've been doing it for over 3 decades now, and I was very, very happy to be able to help their cause and raise plenty of money for the fundraiser. And as mentioned, Rosie Batty AO was a guest speaker. I don't know how she does it. We all know her story and what she's gone through, but to give speeches like that, and really there was people with tears coming down their eyes. So it was great to have her at the Springwell City Hall, which I didn't mention in my speech, I think it was. I did say that that City Hall has seen many great speakers. Gough Whitlam in the 70s made a speech there, and we also had in 2009, I was actually in the room that day when Malcolm Fraser, a Liberal Prime Minister, made a speech to 1,000 people, and I think 95% of those people were Labor members, and he got a standing ovation. So that City Hall is just a gem for this municipality, and I always, whenever I make a speech, I tell the story about many things there, and I'm really proud of it, and the redevelopment, and also the Springwell Community Hub. It's something that I can't stop when I start talking about it. I'm so proud of it, and it's great to show off our facilities. Also, I attended the Ross Reserve Sports Pavilion and Soccer Pitch Tour with the Honourable Premier Dan Andrews. Also, we attended the Npac redevelopment tour. That's going along fantastic. These facilities at Ross Reserve now are first class. We've got council has probably spent in excess of $20 million there. You've got first class facilities, the skate park, the barbecue facilities, the children playground area, the All Abilities playground area. And we've also got $2.5 million in our budget for the athletics track. So that's another gem in our city. We just keep on delivering, and I think we do punch well above our weight. And I love telling these stories because they're stories that people, doesn't matter where you live, I always say people in Greater Dandenong have first-class facilities, and we as council keep on delivering them, and I'm very proud that these new facilities are going to be open very, very shortly. And after that, we visited the Parkfield Reserve cricket nets. Fantastic. The cricket nets has been relocated. They were close to somebody's home. They would hear noise all the time in the afternoon. Now they've been relocated to another area of the reserve, and that facility at Parkfield is now becoming first class as well, and they're looking forward to having their club rooms done up hopefully in the next couple of years as well, and that will be a completion there. So really good outcome, and the cricket club was had their smile from ear to ear. Also, councillors, I attended the Victoria and Hazara Community Vigil in commemoration of the victims of the recent terror attack at the Kaj Higher Education Centre in Dasht Airbachi in Kabul, Afghanistan. There was approximately about 5,000 people in attendance last night, about this time in Harmony Square. Very, very sad. And, we have one of the largest Afghan communities in the southeast, and they reside in our municipality. And to stand side by side with them in solidarity and give them comfort. And we had plenty of members of the federal parliament. I think there was 5 federal members of parliament there. So, this is happening too often. And I know there's a hashtag, Stop Hazara Genocide, which has had millions and millions and millions of hits. I think it's 8 million, somebody told me. So it's just too common. And these senseless bombings and killings of mainly Afghan Hazara girls, which is very sad. And as Dr. Monique Ryan, who's a federal member for Kooyong, said that she's a doctor and went to university, and these girls won't have that opportunity, and many girls in that country won't have an opportunity for education. So really, really sad. And our thoughts and prayers go out to all those families that have been affected. Mr. Benny, do you have any taken on notice at the previous meeting?
Yes, I do, Mayor. There were 10 councillor questions taken on notice at the last meeting. They've all been answered and will be included in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Benny. Item 7, Officers' Reports, Part 3, 7.1, Request to consider an in-camera matter. Moved by Councillor Dark, second by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There is no opposition. I declare the motion carried. Could we have everybody out of the chamber, please? Thank you and welcome back. We'll move on to the next agenda item, item 8. Welcome back, everyone, and we'll get back onto the agenda. Item 8, urgent business. Is there any urgent business, councillors? If there's no urgent business, councillors, I declare the meeting closed at 8:20 p.m. Thank you for your attendance and have a good evening.